morning. It's Friday, which means it's the start of what's going to be a wonderful weekend. Speak it into existence. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Whichever accent you prefer, it applies to you this morning on this fabulous Friday. Fantalocious Friday. It is May 14th, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and all the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go To Fet Facebook pages. Bless up your whole selves, everybody. How was the Thursday evening? I trust and believe that it was a restful, peaceful one, and you're ready to get Friday up and running. Friday, we put in just enough to get through the day, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Good morning to all the viewers and listeners across the Caribbean, whichever part of the region you are. A spicy Grenadian 473 morning to each and every one of you. And those of you internationally, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Hope you will have a good day, are having a good day, have had a good day. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Let's start. It's time for this morning's word of the day. It's 22 minutes on to 7 o'clock. Let's see what's the word of the day. This morning's word of the day is sine-die. Sine-die. It's two words that make up this word / phrase, and it's spelled S-I-N-E, and the other word is spelled D-I-E. Sine-die. It's an adverb, which means without fixing a day for future action or meeting. Sine-die in English means without a day set for resuming business. It is a Latin phrase composed of the preposition sine, which means without, and die, the ablative singular of the noun die, which means day. Sine-die is not a technical term in Roman law, political procedure, or religion. It is a Latin phrase used nearly exclusively in modern British and American legislative, court, and corporate procedures. Sine-die entered English in the 17th century. The word of the day this morning is spelled S-I-N-E space D-I-E, sine-die. It's an adverb, which means without fixing a day for future action or meeting. An example of the use of the word: I seized the opportunity to imply some mild annoyance and postpone the interview sine-die. I'd had enough. That's the word of the day this morning. And another example of the use of the word: on the last day of arguments, she announced that the court was adjourned sine-die, a Latin phrase indicating it was uncertain because of the pandemic when the court would next meet in a public session. That's the word of the day. Most of us would be familiar with it. It is used during Parliament sitting, or should I say at the end of Parliament sittings, when they have no set date for the next meeting, or not as yet. That's what the Speaker of the House would say. The House is now adjourned sine-die. That's what he says in the end there, and he pongs the gavel. And Parliament, and even the President of the Senate as well, and Parliament and Senate have ended sine-die. That's where we usually hear it. S-I-N-E space D-I-E, sine-die, an adverb which means without fixing a day for future action or meeting. That's the word of the day this morning, sine-die. And as you go about your fantalocious Friday, the thought of today is a bit of positivity. I'm speaking into your Friday. The thought of today is, may your cup overflow with peace, love, and pure awesomeness today. May your cup overflow with peace, love, and pure awesomeness today. It's a simple one. That's my wish for each and every one of you today, to have a peaceful one filled with love. No matter what kind of weather we have on the outside, I wish you all the best on your Friday for the weekend. May it be a positive day for you, a happy day for you, a day you can accomplish something that you've set out to do, no matter how small or huge it is. This is the day to do it, and I wish you all the best. So thought for today, for the weekend: may your cup overflow with peace, love, and pure awesomeness today. All right, let's see what's celebrated today, May 14th, 2021. Today it is Decency Day. Decency Day. Decency Day on May 14th, make it a point to spread the message of how a decent human can lead to the overall progress of society. This day celebrates the basic standard of civility that everyone deserves. Decency is a non-partisan grassroots movement launched to inspire decency in everyday life in both conversations and actions. By raising awareness, the movement aims to encourage schools and local community groups to embrace decency and integrate it into both curriculum plans and service projects. That's the what's celebrated today, Decency Day. So be a decent human being today. Sometimes it's tough for some of us. We face always set like 10 rat trap. Anybody come close, we bite their head. But today, show how decent a human being can be. Be kind to the people you encounter today, even if you're being paid to do so, aka customer service. Even if you're not being paid, aka walk in the streets. It's Decency Day, so just exercise a little decency. Show how civil we all can be. We all deserve it, especially those the members of the homeless community. Feel free to show them a little decency, a little kindness today on Decency Day. That's what's celebrated today. All right, information time. To me, that piece is a video, information time. Right, the Royal Grenada Police Force has set up what they call a one-stop shop at the National Stadium for vehicle license inspection. This is something that started during the COVID-19 lockdown, and they realized that there are benefits in it, and they usually do it just as the period is about to end. For this period, the deadline for vehicle license inspection is tomorrow, God willing, May 15th. But of course, license and inspection centers are not opened on weekends, so today is the last day. So check your stickers on your windshield and ensure when is your deadline. So the deadline, let's say today and not tomorrow, please a lot. Today, and the center has been set up at the National Stadium in addition to Dusty Highway and I believe Pearls as well. I think as much. So if you have to get to the deadline and you don't want to go to Dusty, or you're in town and you want to head on over to the stadium, feel free to do so. It is at the Cricket Stadium and you can get everything done there at the stadium. Get your license, get your sticker, pay the cashiers. That's why it's a one-stop shop. So vehicle owners and drivers, your deadline is May 15th. Today is the last day to get to the inspection centers at Dusty Highway or the National Cricket Stadium, and I believe Pearls Airstrip as well. So remember that for those of you who need to get to the deadlines. All right, now let's get ready for the morning edition of news. For those of you on radio and those of you on our visual platforms, it's time for a repeat of last evening's newscast. Like I said, the weekend starts here on Good Morning Grenada. Stick and stay. We'll be back in a short.
The Grenada Union of Teachers in recent weeks were the ones more vocal in their demand for the salary increase due since January, but now the Public Workers Union has stepped in the ring to demand their due payment from their employer. Public workers on Thursday took their lunch hour to protest in front of the ministerial complex, chanting for their 4% increase in salary. More in this Rena Pear Thomas reports.
That was the industrial atmosphere at the ministerial complex at noon on Thursday, as members of the Public Workers Union continue to fight for their 4% salary increase. On Wednesday afternoon, an audio recording from the union public relations officer, Daisy Hazard, were sent to public workers asking them to wear red or union T-shirts to stand in solidarity with executive members of the union protesting for their cause during their lunch hour.
What is killing public servants in this country is stress. And we want to say to the authorities, if where you are sitting in the ivory towers in which we have placed you, if where you are sitting in these comfy positions, where you do not feel our pain, because you do not know what it is to take home $1,200 a
officers were at the ministerial complex ensuring that all regulations were kept and protest actions were peaceful. Many came out with their placards and horns to support the union. Executive members highlighted many issues that presently affect the public service workforce, including that of contract work. PWU President Brian Grimes says that government continues to show disregard for the union, as to date they have received no response from the Labour Commissioner after making attempts to go back to the negotiating table.
There is a total lack of respect for the collective bargaining process, dispute resolution, and our union, the Public Workers Union in particular, hence the reason you see this action here today. On the 27th of April, the Labour Commissioner gave a commitment that the following week we will meet with GNT. That the latest time for that particular promise or guarantee, as he stated, would have been the 7th. Today is the 12th.
13th.
Today is actually, well, thank you very much for that correction, it's the 13th. And we have not heard anything from the GNT or the Labour Commissioner. So this is just an unfortunate reality that we have to face, but we are up for the task. We are undaunted. The Public Workers Union is calling on the government of Grenada to engage with us so that that 4% can be paid sooner rather than later.
Grimes explains that the union will continue to fight for workers' rights.
As long as our 4% is not paid, you will continue to hear and see the members of the Public Workers Union, the members of the Grenada Union of Teachers, and the members of the Technical and Allied Workers Union. That is a commitment. We are not warmongers, but we have pride and we have dignity as labor representatives and workers.
Executive members of the Technical and Allied Workers Union and the Grenada Union of Teachers were also part of Thursday's protest to show solidarity. For GBN News, I am Rena Pear-Thomas reporting.
A resolution is expected to be passed in Parliament, which will see the extension of the state of emergency for Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique that could stretch to November 20th. The resolution will be first heard at the next sitting of the House of Representatives, carded for next week Friday. We get the details of this report.
Another extension of the state of emergency will be lobbied for during the next sitting of the House of Representatives, which will give effect to a November 20th ending to the current state of emergency. A resolution for the purposes of Section 17(5) of the Constitution has been set in motion and is among the documents submitted for the next sitting of the House of Representatives. The state of emergency was first extended on January 11th, having come into effect on December 21st, 9 days after the Ministry of Health confirmed the initial cluster of 26 positive cases of COVID-19. Section 17(5) of the Constitution provides that the resolution for the state of emergency be extended from time to time, each extension not exceeding 6 months. A majority vote of members of the House of Representatives is all that is needed for the resolution to be passed. Grenada remains under curfew between the hours 12 midnight to 4 a.m. The country's COVID dashboard, which displays the latest COVID cases, shows that there are no active cases of the virus in the country. I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
Grenada's health minister is panicking that the present stock of vaccines will expire because the uptake among locals is disappointing. This has sparked concerns about where Grenada would source vaccines from with increased demands for vaccines in India, which donated the initial supplies to Grenada. Cuba is being cited as a possible source. It is racing towards potentially becoming the first country in Latin America to develop its own shot against the coronavirus. The island is in the process of developing 5 experimental shots, including Sobrena 2 and Abdallah, which reached final stage trials last month. Let's get further developments on the Cuban trials.
Just 100 miles away from the Florida coast, a tiny country once crippled by its dictatorship government is now one step closer to distributing its own COVID-19 vaccines, apparently with no help from the outside world. In fact, they're developing 5 vaccines.
This is an underdog story. And, all signs have been pointing to the fact that these vaccines are very promising.
2 of them approved for phase 3 trials just last last month.
The vaccine has a good safety profile, since there have been no serious adverse events.
The vaccines have not completed final testing, but the Cuban government hopes to begin distributing those 2 vaccines starting in May, each requiring 2 to 3 doses.
Once we have those results, we will be ready to authorize the mass use of the vaccine in Cuba. Thus, we are already at the door of the last phase of these clinical trials.
Cuba is an isolated island nation, unique amongst its neighbors in Latin America.
Cuba has a long history of investment in health, especially primary health care. It's largely a medical model. They've stationed doctors all over the world for many decades now. And they also have a long history of vaccine development, especially for the childhood vaccines that we all are familiar with: measles, pertussis, tetanus, etc.
While other neighbors in the region are buying COVID-19 vaccines from countries like Russia, China, and India, Cuba has decided to go it alone.
If it is good and if it is approved for emergency use or any type of registration authorization, then we would consider a massive vaccination plan for the population.
For a low-income country like Cuba, creating an effective vaccine of their own could provide a boost for Cubans, both medically and financially. With the Cuban vaccines, they don't need to join the long line of countries bartering for doses, and they may eventually be able to sell their vaccines to others or even promote vaccine tourism to their shores.
For tonight's analysis, we are now joined live by Dr. Terence Marichaud, who is a Cuban-trained physician. Dr. Marichaud, good night.
Having me.
Now, Dr. Marichaud, let's talk about the Cuban vaccine line's name, Soberana, which translates as sovereign. What is the significance of that?
Well, you know, Cuba is a country that has been fighting for its sovereignty and territorial integrity for over the last 60 years in particular, since it was blockaded by the United States. And so for a small country like Cuba, maybe the smallest country that has been able to produce a vaccine of this magnitude, at this particular point in time, the only one in Latin America and the Caribbean, the only country in Latin America and the Caribbean to, in fact, produce a vaccine at this time, is not only an extraordinary feat, but for a country that has been blockaded for almost 60 years, it says a lot in terms of the defense of their sovereignty and independence, that they can do something like this as big pharma in the big developed world, and a country that has been blockaded by not only the United States, but the extraterritorial issues that are associated with the blockade prevents many countries from doing business with Cuba. And so they have had to do this virtually on their own, and maybe with some, clandestine help from, some countries who are prepared to defy the dictates of Washington and the blockade. But it is an extraordinary feat and really falls in line with what Fidel said many years ago, is in that when he started the biotechnical program in Cuba, that he vowed that he would make Cuba a juggernaut in the Caribbean where biotechnology is concerned. And this is a testament to his vision and also a testament to the defense of their own sovereignty and independence.
Now, some people think that CARICOM should have put some funds into the development of the vaccines being developed in Havana. How did Cuba find the resources to make its own COVID-19 shots?
Well, Cuba has a very, very advanced biotechnological industry that has been there for many, many years. A lot of Cuban resources have been poured into BioCube Pharma. And, there are some countries who have helped and continue to help. In fact, one country in particular donated a very sophisticated machine to Cuba only recently. And so Cuba not only does a lot on their own and have to source things from all around the world when they could do it right there from the United States, but because of the blockade, they have to find the means to survive, not just as far as biotechnology is concerned, but generally because of the blockade. Survival is a very, very difficult thing for Cuban people. And in this day and age, especially when the Cold War is finished and all of this, at a time when, Obama opened up relations with Cuba and things seemed to be going fine, then came that idiot, President Trump, who decided now that he was going to put more pressure on Cuba than they have ever gotten over the years. So it's just an extraordinary feat that country has been able, in spite of all the difficulties, in spite of the blockade and everything that they've been going through, to still be able to produce a vaccine that is not only for the benefit of their own people, but by the very nature of the Cuban people and the internationalist spirit. It is being produced for the rest of the world and those who can get it. But of course, we know there's a big competition. There's a lot of problems associated with Cuba being able to export their own vaccine for themselves because of big pharma in the Western world. But at the same time, Grenada and countries of the Caribbean and Latin America who wish to be part of that, that extraordinary development where Cuba has been able to produce a vaccine that is going to be made available to all of us. We should all sign up to it because we know that everything they do is going to be done in the interest of goodwill, in the interest of the people, and that's all we have come to expect from the Cuban people. They see themselves as making a mark on humanity, and that's what they have done, whether it's in Africa fighting Ebola, whether it is, fighting the same COVID in Italy, and in many countries of the Caribbean and Latin America. That is what they do, and that is what they continue to do.
Well, Dr. Marisho, thank you so much for joining us tonight as we continue to put light on the latest developments surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. That was our guest.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
That was our guest, Dr. Terence Marisho. A resident of Telescope St. Andrew is presently in police custody, assisting with investigations into an alleged shooting incident that occurred on Tuesday, 11th May 2021 at Telescope. Officers assigned to the Grenville police station also discovered a quantity of 12-gauge cartridges, a flare gun, and flares that were reportedly used in that incident. This individual is expected to be charged. Mount Parnassus residents are breathing a sigh of relief as workers are making attempts to remove a huge boulder from an area that is seen as a threat to the life and livelihoods of both pedestrians and motorists in the area. This action comes after more than 1 year of complaints from residents. More in this report.
Users of the Coconut Mount Parnassus main road could feel less anxious as efforts have been made to remove a large boulder that has threatened their safety. Some bus operators for the area expressed a sense of relief in seeing the removal of the boulder. They say that up to recent, the stone shifted due to the heavy rains over the last few days.
Some small boulders was under it because of the amount of water came the past previous days. It started to move, so I feel the timing is just perfect. Yeah, that might touch on it right now. It makes you feel a little much safer.
I feel good about it because he has been there for years. And he start moving already. I feel very good to, and safe. A great idea they're moving the boulder. It's very safer now, I could have come down anytime,
A press release issued by the Ministry of Works on Tuesday stated that the road will be closed to vehicular traffic from Wednesday, 12th May 2021 for 1 week. Peter Charles, acting engineering assistant within the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, said that his department is responsible for ensuring that the nation's streets are safe from these hazards. He also spoke of the project.
It was a large boulder, and for the past year, about a year now, we've been having complaints from the residents and the motoring public that it poses a danger to them because they're seeing signs of movement. So the Ministry of Works have been planning for a long time to have it removed, and it should have been started last week. But because we didn't get the press release out in time, it was delayed to yesterday. Yes, we came here with an engineer. myself and the engineer came here, we did the investigation, and FCC that it was necessary that we remove it.
Charles also mentioned that 3 boulders in the St. David's area will also be removed. What about the stone in Rukane? Any plans on that?
Yes, that is, as we are here now, just yesterday, some tenders went out, varying stakeholders, to do their cost estimate, to submit to the ministry to have that stone removed as well.
So we would see some work happening there soon?
Yes, well, we're doing our best. In spite of the challenging times, the ministry is doing its best to ensure that everyone is safe. Although we will never be able to remove every hazard or everything. We're doing what we can to make everybody safe, and hopefully the public can cooperate with us and give us their support.
The contract for the work was awarded to Andy Lewis Services. Managing director of the company, Andy Lewis, told GBN he expects the large boulder to be completely removed from the site by next week.
We estimate this job to take approximately 4 to 5 days. It's a process of drilling and splitting. That's what we do to demolish the stones. It's a special piece of equipment which we have to use to break the stones, to get the stones down to a manageable size.
The contractor says that this is one of many boulders he would have removed on behalf of government that is deemed unsafe for the general public. For GBN News, I am Rena Pear-Thomas reporting.
In less than 24 hours, Grenadian Michael Smith will compete against opponents from Trinidad and Tobago, France, USVI, England, Barbados, and Guyana, among others, in the semi-finals of the 2021 edition of the Panorama competition. The competition kicked off on the evening of May 7th with the semi-final carded for Thursday night at 8 p.m. The event is being held virtually on various social media platforms. We get the details in this report from Gerard Joseph.
The virtual show will witness 20 semi-finalists, the lone Grenadian being Michael Smith, who will be seeking to continue his journey to the final set for May 22nd. Defending champion Earl Brooks Jr. from Trinidad and Tobago is heading to the next stage in second place, with Mathieu Bon of France currently in the lead. 11 countries from around the world were represented in the preliminaries. Smith participated in the preliminary round during the first night of the 3-night prelims and placed 19th out of 30 contestants. Smith will perform in position number 10, and the event will be streamed live simultaneously on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
And now we turn our attention to what has been creating a buzz on social media. Let's take a look around the platforms.
This is Social Buzz, where we shine a light on the thoughts and concerns of our online audience. A video in which a police officer displayed weapons found on primary school students yesterday circulated on social media. Meanwhile, in an unrelated incident, a secondary school student sustained stab wounds to his chest.
These are weapons that was found on our primary school students at school called Drukas. They were made and adapted for the purpose. They said they brought it fun to deal with another student. Primary school grade 6.
Tonight we listen to the opinions of our online and listening audience as they discuss what can be done to teach our children conflict resolution.
One of the keys is learning, teaching people how to understand and manage their emotions.
Children follow what they see, so let's, we the adults, set a better example first.
In many homes, if you see fighting, or you see disorder. You grow up in disorder.
Parents need to be better examples. There are parents who have given their children weapons to bring to school to deal with a teacher or a student. We have to start changing the parents first.
Give them the love that what we parents teach us. Even though, because I didn't grow up with my parents, but I have a child now, and I show him that son of mine love so he could carry it on to his children.
The children are very technical and lots of parents have difficulties coping with them. So the Ministry of Education need to start teaching conflict resolution from the primary school level and at PTAs to help parents cope.
They learn more from what they hear than what they see. Because sometimes we can avoid showing children or exposing them to certain things that we do, but they hear what we see, and we think they're not listening. And sometimes we're not aware of what we are teaching them.
Do not wait for situations to happen. There should be weekly conflict resolution classes, programs starting from kindergarten.
I think what we have to teach our children is to identify conflict situation, how to avoid some conflict situation, how to identify conflict situation, and if a situation is arising, how to diffuse in a non-violent way.
As we reap what we sow, a transformation must take place. Conscience of God and willingness for change is a way forward. Charity begins at home. A parent who is out of control cannot help.
That's it for tonight's Social Buzz. If you would like to have your thoughts and concerns shared, be sure to comment on GBN's Facebook page. From the thought process to the visual impact, it's time to take a peek through the GBN eyesore lens.
It's plum season as we know it. Do you remember as a child competing for the Tete plum? Well, today's eyesore submission is a bit extra. Our eyesore reporter encountered this peculiar looking plum. If you buy them or you climb the tree to pick your treat, see if there is anything odd about your plum. Remember to have your photos and videos featured. Submit them via our social media platforms, including WhatsApp, on 405-3052.
We are taking pride in outstanding performance. We are encouraging and recognizing innovation. We are committed to continuously doing things better, with enhanced services coming soon. Yes, we are here for you. Check us out today for your financial need. GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex, or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
Are you
you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Introducing Color by Seasons. 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 Color by Seasons.
Once upon a time, we shopped at Wonderland, then Neverland. But we're all grown up now and no longer believe in fairy tales. So now we just shop at Shoes R Us. At Shoes R Us, we stock the latest in shoes, tops, and jeans for the fashion-conscious lady. We also carry colognes and much, much more. And for the modern trendy male, we have the latest brand name shoes and sneakers, Converse, Reebok, Nike, K-Swiss, Puma, and much more. So check us out at our two convenient locations, Melville Street in St. George and Ben Jones Street in Granville. At Shoes R Us, we say, come shop with us. Trends come and go, but jewelry is forever in style. Give a gift that lasts a lifetime. Diamond Intercontinental have diamond jewelry, gold and silver jewelries, engagement rings, wedding bands, chains, bracelets, and so much more. They also carry brands such as Anne Klein and Guess. Why wait? Visit Diamond Intercontinental Jewelry Store at the Esplanade Mall. Call 440-231234. The number again, 232-1234.
Understanding our ocean is education for life. Encourage your students to learn about marine life, water quality, sea level rise. Let them explore sciences. Encourage them through field trips and scholarships. The more they know, the better they can protect our oceans from litter and climate change. Let them rise to the challenge. The ocean is our responsibility, their inheritance, their future.
This message brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the government of Norway. Remlit, tackling ocean pollution from turf to surf.
Bruv. Hello? I can't see you. What's good? But I can't even hear you. Yo. Hello? Hello? Ah. Okay, I see. I'm good. I'm coming in. Ah. There you are.
Live the experience right now. Enjoy high-quality video calling today. Stream, upload, and share with Digicel super fast LTE network. Visit our stores today and live the experience today. Digicel.
See the savings with SpiceIsle Optical. Don't break the bank to get your focals. Classy, affordable eyewear. Service optimal. Our experienced technician works like a magician. Trust your sight with our company's vision, where your satisfaction is ever our mission. Mobile services, family packages, economical prices. SpiceIsle Optical is where the deal is. SpiceIsle Optical is located in Queen's Park, St. George's. For more information, contact us at 449-1588 or 440-0353.
We have an important message for all of you, especially if you live in a country that is right now facing the new coronavirus. The pandemic is growing exponentially in many countries. But But the Czech Republic is one of the few in Europe that has significantly slowed down the spread of the virus. In this video, we would like to tell you what we did differently, and mainly, we would like to help you to do the same. We are following social distancing and the rules stay at home. But others do that too. We also have the strict hygienic procedures. Others do that as well. But the main difference is everyone who has to leave their house has to wear a face mask. Everyone.
I know, they may be told you that masks wouldn't protect you, but there are studies proving that even a homemade mask can be partially protective. Partially. Any protection is essential today. But now the more important thing. Masks fundamentally prevent the transmission from you to others by sneezing, coughing, but also breathing. And many people are the most contagious before they start showing symptoms. So, when we both have a face mask, I protect you, you protect me, and we are both safe.
Based on recent data, we know that population-wide use of masks is essential for suppression of the outbreak.
According to our professional experience, a simple homemade mask can prevent up to 100% of the spread of potentially infected microdroplets.
The more people use masks, the less virus can be distributed and fewer individuals are exposed.
Just a few days ago, people were laughing at those who wore masks. But some people knew about this positive effect and started to share this information across social media. The message grew fast through artists, influencers, and others. I know, face masks aren't in stores, right? But something incredible happened. People started making homemade masks and giving them to others for free. Many companies, theaters, or even retirement houses changed their buildings into sewing rooms, and thousands of people started to sew masks at home. So we know that face masks work, and it has been repeatedly confirmed by scientists. We know that it is possible in just 3 days to provide face masks for 10 million people in one country. And we know that here we have fundamentally repressed the infection. Please share this knowledge and help us to change as many countries as possible. Take a picture with your face mask on and share it with the hashtag #MasksForAll. It can really save lives. And remember, I protect you, you protect me.
Welcome back to Good Morning Grenada. It is now 20 minutes after 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. Those of you who just got out of bed and those of you who stuck with us, thank you for your patience. It's Friday, which means it's time to show off another one of our local talented people. This month we are featuring all our playwrights and directors here in Grenada. And this week I have joining me in the showroom is a man that is no stranger, a veteran in the business, Mr. Christopher DeRiggs. Good morning, Mr. DeRiggs. How you do?
Morning, Blossom.
All is well?
Thank you for having me on your program. I feel fine.
You look fine.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in God's world.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I always appreciate when I can get to know the people who and to bring entertainment to us on a regular basis. So it's a pleasure to have you this morning, sir. Mr. DeRiggs, one of our veterans when it comes to playwriting and the creative arts. And I want to start from the very beginning. A very good place to start, as the song says. Take me back to the start of your career as a playwright. How did you get into this creative arts business that you so lovingly fit into?
Well, it started when I entered the GBSS as a student in the late 1960s. I was fortunate to have teachers of literature who were extremely talented in teaching literature. The outstanding work of my literature teachers stimulated in me an interest in storytelling. And it also stimulated my interest in reading. And before long, I found myself avidly and passionately reading not just classic literature, but also Caribbean literature. So at this point in time, I want to say I stand on the shoulders of excellent teachers of literature, especially, and I've always said so, Mr. H. DeBaptiste, a former principal of the GBSS, who also, for a brief period, became principal of the Anglican High School. But he was not the only one. There are other people who were around and, in a general sense, inspired me to research and write and to do theater. Mr. Basil Bonaparte, Mr. Val Francis, who died not too long ago. These are people who inspired me. And so it started when I entered the GBSS and performed in my first speech night play. I think that's where it all began.
Did you immediately love it, or did it take some time for you to get into it?
No, I fell in love with literature, the arts, instantaneously. I felt an emotional connection immediately. And so when I took up the book, there's a book called The Sun's Eye. I don't know if you remember. It's probably your mother will, right? That book was a compilation of Caribbean writers of prose as well as poetry. And it was not just a book to teach people how to write stories or to write poems. It was a very entertaining book. And I got to realize, therefore, that it was not simply a matter of education, but entertainment. And I've carried in my entire career in the theater arts, I've combined education and entertainment. So that when the word, I bunks up the word edutainment, it sort of summarized, that twin approach to the arts. Because if you want to encourage people to get involved in the arts, you have to show them the entertainment aspect of it. If you want to build patrons, a body of patrons supporting your book, it's important to understand it's not just education, but entertainment. People want to be entertained, they want to laugh, they want to cry, they want to connect emotionally with what you're doing. And so that's for me, it was like it coming home. When I started doing theater, we started with, as I said, speech night plays. In GBSS, we had this annual award ceremony, which was also a concert where we displayed the best of the talents, whether it is singing or dance or drama. So we did an annual speech night play. And that's where it started. We were able to perform not just for speech nights, because we moved on. We moved beyond the annual presentation of a play into a situation where we were staging our own shows and therefore fulfilling a desire to be active in theater arts beyond just the limited opportunity of an annual speech night play. And from there, it went from strength to strength, where we were able to read and study a lot of Caribbean plays, whether it is by Derek Walcott, his twin brother, Roderick Walcott, Douglas Archibald, Errol John, Errol Hill, a whole host, and of course our own Willie Redhead, who was known as an active member for the conservation of the tongue of St. George's and so on, but he was an outstanding playwright, recognized in the region for his ability, and his works were used in theater festivals in places like Jamaica and Trinidad. So these are the people who helped me to develop some, I was able to interact with directly as time went by, people like Professor Errol Hill, who wrote the play Man Better Man, and Willie Redhead, who I met and came to see my productions and did a kind of criticism of my work. I came to appreciate that kind of experience. So that's how I got into it. it felt like a natural connection. It was love at first sight. Or as Dracula would say, love at first bite.
So how did your love of literature and the speech night plays translate into you actually putting pen to paper and writing your own productions?
Okay, the University of the West Indies put out a series of plays in the 60s referred to as the Red and White series. So we started doing these plays, Belfanto, The Rose Slip, Junction Village, Bond of Matrimony, and all these plays. There was one, Bond of Matrimony. I had the opportunity to act alongside Jacob Ross. And it's a name we should always remember. Jacob Ross is an icon. He's a living testament to the ability of Grenada, as well as a Caribbean civilization, to achieve and do well in literature. But we started acting, and myself and Jacob Ross were the principal actors in the GBSS drama group at the time. We found, however, that our interests went beyond the time and the available time of our tutors. Our tutors were busy people. They helped. Mr. Val Francis was our patron and was very helpful. But we felt that our interest in theatre was so all-consuming that we went beyond just working within the opportunities available in the school, and we started our own theatre company. Eventually, we started a group called We Foot, of the patois expression, We Foot. And that for us showed us the vast possibilities in building a kind of theatre company that could entertain not just in a limited way, but throughout the year, staging plays. And we began to become ambitious. Jacob Ross wrote a play called Them Two Fellas. And that was our first one act as a group of young actors doing our own thing. And so we produced this particular play, and we were very impressed with the response. And it sort of fired my imagination about what was possible. And I did a satirical piece on the annual budget presentation. We called it Pass the Budget. And that really, it did kill people with laughter. So again, we got to understand the power of theatre as a vehicle for, entertainment, and how we could, capitalize on that natural connection with people in the field of theatre. And so we went beyond just, performing other people's plays, but writing our own plays and producing our own plays and becoming confident that, our stories were just as legitimate to tell and perform. And in that way, we move beyond just being a performer of plays written by Caribbean writers, but moving to a stage where we actually were producing our own plays. Later on in life, it took me to Heritage Theatre Company, but that is significantly later in my life as a theatre activist.
Do you recall the very first play that you wrote?
Well, the first full-length play that I wrote, it was called Pan in My Blood. Pan in My Blood, and don't ask me when, but I would say many moons ago. I tend to lose track of, dates. I don't know, if it's because of my senior years, but I do not recall exactly when. But sometimes it's not just when, but how. What's important in excavating and pulling back and pulling out a feeling that you had at a certain time. Pan in My Blood was a story of a guy called Gabriel Boyk, whose father was a pan man and grew up and played pan in poverty. He died in poverty. But before he died, he became so disappointed, and he felt such disillusionment about his involvement in music and especially pan music, that he did not want to see his son grow up and become a pan man. So he exported his son, sent him to the United States, to get him as far as away from that kind of environment or milieu where he'd be sucked into playing pan music and becoming a panist. Unfortunately for this gentleman, his son went and studied music and anthropology and was haunted by a dream of pan music, and so found his way back to Grenada and founded a steel band group, which became a nuisance to some of the hoity-toity, well-established people in the community. They invaded an old estate house and set up as their panyard and so on. And that particular play, I wrote and staged, and it was my first full-length play. When I wrote that play, the theatre clientele in Grenada was pretty small. Not many people come out to theatre. And we staged it at Marshall House, Marshall Folk Theatre at the time. It was fairly well attended, but there were many technical flaws in the production. And then I took that particular script to Professor Errol Hill, who is the foremost Caribbean theatre historian and a playwright himself. And I gave him the script to review. It was Miss Beverly Steele, who was at the Marshall University Center at the time, who introduced me to Professor Hill. And Professor Hill took my script and told me, come back and check him the next morning. Next morning, I went to see him at Koyaba Hotel. And when he presented that script to me, my heart sank because it was riddled with red markings. In other words, he being an expert in anatomizing, analyzing theater and literature, saw many of the flaws in that particular script. So when he saw my expression, he said to me, don't be demoralized, right? You have fresh material. This play has a certain freshness about it. So I must confess, my spirits were not elevated, but I went away and I put on that script for 4 years, took it up after 4 years, and began to look at it with fresh eyes, considering the comments and criticisms that Professor Errol Hill had made. And I must tell you that I rewrote the play, staged it with Heritage Theatre Company, took it to Aruba, to an international theatre festival, and received a standing ovation. We were one of only 4 of the 13 groups that took part in that theatre festival to receive a standing ovation. So Panama Blood is my first major play, but there are others. And to date, I've written more than 30 plays. And, the theatre patrons in Grenada can attest, to these particular productions, which we have done. Not just, I've done as Heritage Theatre Company primarily in the last 3 decades. Yeah.
Well, somebody on WhatsApp says Panama Blood was the first play staged by Heritage in 1990, so it would have been written around 1989.
Okay, well, there you have it. You know more what the thing that means, right?
So take me now to Heritage Theatre. The road leading to Heritage, how did it come about that you decided, this is the time for me to start a company? The name as well, how did you come up with Heritage, and how did you put the group of actors and actresses together?
Well, I went to Europe primarily to study. And I enrolled at Stockholm University, studied economics. I felt, it's a difficult thing. I sort of went through the cycle of emotions that an immigrant experiences. I felt depressed, during winter. These winters are long and dreary. Imagine in the month of November, it's already dark at 2:00 in the afternoon. We are outdoor creatures. We are gregarious. We like to socialize and so on. We are tropical birds. And so the cold, the darkness, the coldness, and in winter, people go into themselves in these countries. So I experienced a bout of depression up there, and a feeling of homesickness that, that is, it's even hard to describe how I felt at the time. And when I came back to Grenada, years afterwards, I reconnected with some of my colleagues, people like Asquith Duncan, Halim Abdulwali, Halim Griffith. And we met in a house in the Limes in Granans, where I lived, and decided to form Heritage Theatre Company. Now, I must tell you this, that it was a kind of trajectory for me, because for me coming home after singing homesickness, coming home for me was not just simply physically coming back and walk on Granans Beach or walk to the market. Coming home for me was reconnecting with the culture. I have always felt that our stories are legitimate and worthy of telling. And I have always been driven by a desire to see a wider body of Caribbean literature and Grenadian literature in particular. I've always felt when I visited bookstores, whether it was in Jamaica or somewhere else, a paucity of Grenadian literature. So in my particular case, because I was driven to theatre, I felt I could make a contribution. So my coming homeness to Grenada manifested itself in the formation of a theatre company, which we now know as Heritage Theatre Company, and has engraved itself in the history of theatre in Grenada. We have performed in, I would say, 14 or so different countries. We have been on stage maybe more than 800 times in the years. We have celebrated 3 decades of theatre. And some of the people who were involved with Heritage at an early stage have moved to the great beyond, and maybe they're performing before St. Peter. So we have had people like Asquith Duncan, who we lost under tragic circumstances, Christine Clarkson, who was one of the outstanding voices in Caribbean theatre, and she, unfortunately, David Omuwale Franklin was with us at a certain time, Frances Bengi Charles, Shirley Braffett, who was a foundation member of Heritage Theatre Company, and she made her mark in the field of education in Grenada when she founded Alpha School, which is going strong right now and contributing towards the education of young people. Recently, we lost Sherwin Sylvester, and Sherwin was a remarkable acting talent, and he died suddenly. So these are the people who walked the road with us in the building of Heritage Theatre Company, and bringing what Asquith would used to regard as a superior grace in entertainment to Grenada. And so this is Heritage, but Heritage, I cannot really summarize, in the time available, the work of Heritage Theatre Company. We have done full-length plays, and most recently we staged Patient Zero, which dealt with the pandemic and how people coped under lockdown and so on. And we were able to stage that play under very difficult circumstances. And but we have done collaborative work with ministries and institutions, focusing on issues like climate change, family life education, domestic squabbles, where there's a triangular love affair, things like that. We have tried to be relevant, because one of the biggest challenges if you're doing art of any kind is to maintain relevance. And so we have tried to be relevant in what we have done, to touch on the pulse, to feel the pulse of the Grenadian community, and to represent on stage. As we say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this is how, I would sort of try to summarize the work we have done, in the last 30 or so years.
Do you have a favorite play that you've written? And do you have a least favorite, or are they all your babies?
Well, my typical response to that is that it is difficult for a mother or a father to speak about a favorite child. So, as you say, babies, they're all my babies. And I would say they're all our babies, because I've worked in a collaborative way with my cast and crew over the years. And I've benefited from criticism by former patrons, which I take very seriously. And I love all the plays, but for different reasons. Some are more comedic, you know, whether it is The Wedding or The Happy Hour, these productions, exploring the wonderful comedic acting skills of Wayne Bob or Robert White, Dillian Walters and others, you know, or on the most serious side, you know, there's a play we did, which When Lightning Strikes, which dealt with, you know, the kind of insecurity human beings feel and how they deal with the insecurity. You know, a man, you know, feels he wants to, you know, become the most secure person in the world. So what does he do? He studies law, because law is supposed to help you build a wall around yourself, you know, knowing what your rights and limitations are. He builds a house on the top of a mountain, again, away from people, so he can look around and look down and feel secure, like he's living in a fortress. But what happens to him is that he encounters a situation where he's vulnerable, because he enters into a relationship with a woman, one of his old flames, and she calls him afterwards to tell him she's HIV positive. So for all his security that he has built around himself, a human weakness, a human flaw, threatens to derail his very life. And that was a serious play, When Lightning Strikes. And we staged that play and staged it very successfully. But we have also tried to do productions that touch on serious issues, but in such a manner that it doesn't have our audiences walking out of the theater depressed and all weighed down. We try to give them a mixture, like a good mixture, because life is grim enough. And so it's always a great thing when you can make your audience cry, but also make them laugh. So we have done all kinds of plays, and some are serious, some are comedic. I cannot call a favorite one at this point in time. Right now, I'm passionately involved in preparing to stage Julien Fedon, which is a big historical drama. We were going to stage it last year in 2020 in March, and then came the pandemic.
COVID had other plans.
That is consuming a lot of our efforts and energy at this point in time. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, because that was a play I wanted to see, because I think there's so much about Julien Fedon that we haven't learned about or haven't heard about. So I was looking forward to it. So I'm glad to know that you're still working on it.
Yeah. We the cast met up to last Wednesday evening, and it's, you know, when we think of Julien Fedon, it's an important chapter in Grenada's long march to independence. Sometimes it is treated as a parenthesis, but in recent times, a lot of focus has gone into understanding the very significance of Julien Fedon's rebellion. One historian refers to it as an abortive revolution, and we have done a lot of research about Julien Fedon. We know that it is the kind of part of our history which we must understand and put in its correct context. So was it a slave rebellion, or a rebellion of enslaved Africans against slavery? Was it a struggle against the British colonial plantocracy system at the time, which is a different one? Was it a part of an attempt by enlightened people in Grenada in the 1790s to join in what was a kind of world movement for liberation led by the French Revolution in 1789? So we feel that we're touching on a big historical issue with the work around the historical drama Julien Fedon. We are looking forward to stage that particular play later on this year, and we started an engagement with the Ministries of Education and Culture, as well as our corporate sector, the private sector. We have been in touch with the schools, and we want to make it a kind of community buy-in, so that people would embrace this particular production, not just as an entertainment activity, but a very important opportunity for us to come to terms with a very key chapter in our struggle or long march to independence as a country. Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, Mr. DeRiggs, and when we come back, I want to talk about the current creative arts industry and your thoughts on it. This is the showroom on Good Morning Grenada. We'll be right back.
Trends come and go, but jewelry is forever in style. Give a gift that lasts a lifetime. Diamond Intercontinental have diamond jewelry, gold and silver jewelries, engagement rings, wedding bands, chains, bracelets, and so much more. They also carry brands such as Anne Klein and Guess. One way, visit Diamond Intercontinental Jewelry Store at the Esplanade Mall. Call 440-231-234. The number again, 232-1234.
Thinking about your new home? Think easy. Think of Republic Bank Home Easy Loan. Think affordable. Think convenience. Think Republic. Republic makes home easy. Wow, that was such a breeze. So whether letting that first brick or purchasing an existing home, we've got you covered. Republic Bank will get you those keys hassle-free in no time.
Do what you wanna do, go where you wanna go. Get boobies, get going, get boobies, get going, get boobies, get going, get boobies, get going.
State-of-the-art Ultratech gasoline and diesel available only at Rubis Station.
Packages to DHL than any other company in the air express industry. DHL is the.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Welcome back to the showroom on Good Morning Grenada, speaking with playwright and director, a local son of the soil, Mr. Christopher DeRiggs. Mr. DeRiggs, before we go on to your future plans, let me talk about the current state of the creative arts industry in Grenada. What are your thoughts on the current state of it? And another question as well is, do you think creative arts drama should be introduced into our school curriculum?
Well, to answer the second question first, there is such a, in some schools, creative arts, theater arts are being offered. We have some people who are trained in theater arts and who have been given outstanding service at the level of the schools and at the level of the community. So yes, it's a curriculum that should be expanded. My personal belief is that the creative arts should be elevated to industry status, treated as a legitimate sector in our economy, in our social life, in our spiritual development. And it's a question of redefining how policymakers see the creative arts. We have just come through a very difficult, a horrible year, 2020. We have just come through a time when people in the creative industry have gone without income. And not just that, they have lost visibility because they have not been able to perform in physical spaces and display their God-given talent. We have seen a situation unfolding where the self-esteem of performers has been dipping because of these circumstances. And many artists are struggling with the question, how do I find my feet in the new dispensation? So, in the absence of being able to physically perform in physical spaces, many of them are trying to find their way in the virtual world. Typically, governments have a responsibility to facilitate the growth of sectors that can provide income and employment and general development. And I do not think we're seeing that from the current government, but we have not seen it from previous governments. I think it's a lack of awareness, a lack of consciousness, a lack of commitment, and an understanding of the importance of this particular sector. We have to revisit how we feel about ourselves as a people and as part of a Caribbean civilization. Think about it this way. The Caribbean accounts for, I would say, 0.2% of the world population. And if you include Haiti, maybe 13, 14 million people. But in spite of our minuscule place in the world demographics, the Caribbean has produced 3 Nobel laureates. So Arthur Lewis in 1979 for his contribution to economic theory. DeRiggs Walcott in 1992, and V.S. Naipaul in 2001. DeRiggs Walcott for his mastery, his phenomenal of poetry, his phenomenal poetry, and in the case of V.S. Naipaul, his unique mastery of prose. We have produced some of the fastest men in the planet, whether it is Usain Bolt or Asafa Powell or Kirani James. The Caribbean has produced a musical industry that is world class. We have invented the steel pan in the 20th century, and it was the only instrument that we know to have been invented in the 20th century. So we are well endowed, we are talented, and it doesn't take rocket science to understand our unique talent and capabilities as a Caribbean civilization, as a Grenadian civilization. And we need to remind ourselves that we are talented and we are capable of straddling the globe with our cultural industries. The challenge we face is to understand how good we are and accept that we are good. And that is part of the challenge. And when we have to move beyond people putting lip service in the creative arts industries. We have to understand that policies, strategies, action plans must be formulated in order to push this particular sector. We have to move beyond just tax credits, occasional tax credits or duty-free concession to import this or that. But we must get an active facilitation and a forward-looking, progressive-minded, visionary approach on the part of policymakers to facilitate the creative arts sector. It's one of the fastest growing sectors in the world, but there's a specific, peculiar situation we find ourselves in the wake of the pandemic. How do we move forward? And so when I think of the role of policymakers, of governments, I'm thinking in this particular situation, going beyond your traditional, facilitation of the sector, but looking to see how we can open doors so that creative people can benefit from their God-given talents. And so, it's the technological landscape we face. When our aspiring novelists or aspiring singers or dramatists can be given the kind of support and push so that they can realize the full potential that God has given them. I know this has been a mouthful, but I feel strongly about these things.
No, and I can understand why, because I think it is really an area that has not gotten the attention that it deserves from the powers that be, as well as, what do you think about how much people gravitate to drama, the creative arts. Is it something that, or why are not more people gravitating to it?
Well, in a situation of ignorance, people may not know what their real choices are. So if you do not know, if you're walking through a bush, the Grenada rainforest, you're trying to find your way forward, but you don't know where the tracks are. It takes a guide like Mr. Telfabido to show you where to go. And that's what policymakers should do. They should research the landscape and guide. So people will not find a way forward if they are not given the information so that they can make informed decisions about their real possibilities. You see? So it starts with the kind of activities, facilitated activities that can be done in all the creative sectors. And I'm not just talking about drama, architecture, architectural planning and design, fashion, cultural heritage, tourism, advertising, craft work, the different performing arts, the music, the software industry. We need to have a new socialization and education, starting at the level of the schools, but also in communities, because so much is lost because the education process ends when people leave school. So we have to think in terms of education, not just in the context of what goes on in the classroom, but what goes on in the community. Some of the things that were done in the time of the revolution. See? And that level of education should show people what careers they can pursue if they are trained in the field of the creative arts. And maybe after that light is shown, shining the way forward, there comes the facilitative intervention on the part of governments and other actors within the society, the corporate sector, to provide scholarships, endowments, support an initiative to research this topic, this aspect of our history, this aspect of our folklore. You see, that kind of partnerships should follow the initial education about career possibilities, but it requires the activist involvement of policymakers. And I have to say it, the policymakers are out at sea in many instances when it comes to giving support to these things. Some of them pay lip service and they don't even know what they're supporting when they talk about it, because they make very superficial utterances. Some of them think culture is a kind of a vogue. So, if you are a minister of culture or a special cultural figure, you wear a dashiki and you walk about posing, going to this mass cultural activity or that cultural activity, but you didn't build a single archive or support any initiative to start an archive or a museum or to do any kind of build a library or build a cultural a memories bank and things like that. We need activist involvement, not just lip service. We need a proper performing facility in Grenada that is flexible and can facilitate the different creative arts. People have done things. I mean, Mr. Dolan should be heralded for his extremely, brave initiative to start Spice Basket, and that has become a home for the performing arts. But and the Trade Center, through the support of people like Mr. Ricky Bido, have been doing a great job to support the performances. Marisha Horse has been there. But where is the state-of-the-art facility beyond what we have that can seat 500 to 1,000 people in amphitheater style? You see? And can take it to steel band concerts or a dance concert, or can stage and be the home for a drama festival. You see? All these things are possible, but you must find the space in your heart and in your mind and belief in the possibilities of things for it to happen. If we can, get the government of China to give us a stadium for $180 million, how far do we have to go to ask them to build a state-of-the-art facility for $10 million? You see, that is possible, but you have to have awareness and you have to be prepared to make the necessary, to walk the walk. And it can happen if you really want to do it.
It's time for us to wrap, Mr. DeRiggs, but one of the questions on Facebook, somebody has asked if you've ever considered collaborating with another of our local playwriters, like Mr. Peters or even Mr. Keynes Douglas, to write a play together.
Yes. Short answer is yes. And unfortunately, we have lived in theater silos, doing our respective things. At one level, there might be some collaboration. People might exchange, equipment for a particular production. I could tell you that when I was asked to write and direct the Carifesta presentation some years ago, I consciously and actively went out and recruited acting talent from all the theater companies at the time. There were members from my own company, Heritage, but they did not even constitute the majority of players in that particular ensemble that went to, I think, Trinidad and did a production, The Camahorn Boat, which is a kind of melodrama, kind of multimedia, musical, operatic type presentation, which we staged at Queen's Hall in Trinidad at the Carifesta. So it was a Grenadian presentation that consisted of acting talent from all the theater actors, groups, and independent operators in Grenada. And I think there's need for more engagement, not just to do joint productions, but it should go beyond that, the joint advocacy. We need to work together to build critical mass. And this is one of our principal shortcomings, if I must be self-critical. We need to work together to build critical mass, to engage with the authorities. And let me just say, I am speaking passionately and frankly, and this is not a leveling the criticism of this specific administration, but I think there's a historical weakness and a wrong. My partner used to say it's a wrong mistake, right? We different administrations have been guilty of making a wrong mistake, in treating with the creative arts industry, and it needs for a kind of rethinking and a radical rethinking and a partnership. And I challenge, the existing administration to wake up and shake up and take a different approach in the current dispensation when it comes to the creative arts industries.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeRiggs, for being our guest this morning. Next on the agenda is Julian Fedon.
Yes.
Lovely. Making sure.
So we were, as I said, we were ready to stage Fedon last year. We imported costumes from North America because it's a timepiece in the 18th century Grenada, the French and the British and the enslaved Africans. We built the sets, with the help of financial contributions from the corporate sector. We printed tickets, advertised on GBN, as you remember, right? And then our actors, a cast of 15 very talented actors, we were ready to go. Only to find that the pandemic came, and of course, the public health authorities did what they had to do and asked us to hold back with that. So a year or so has gone, and we're looking forward with optimism, hopefully. And I want to take this opportunity to encourage people to have a rational approach to the whole vaccination program. The government of Grenada and the public health authorities have done a creditable job in this regard. And I want to encourage people that time is running out. Let us not be complacent. Everything can, it depends on every individual. The landscape can change. We can be more confident, go back to some kind of normalcy, semi-normalcy. It'll never be normal as before. And the performers maybe can begin to perform in physical spaces, but a lot depends on our individual efforts. And, people should take a more rational approach. I'm vaccinated. I've taken the 2 doses. And people are expressing doubt and concern. I take my chances with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And I want to encourage as many people as possible to consider themselves, guardians and custodians of the collective safety of the population. So I end on that note.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeRiggs. Enjoy the rest of your day. It was a pleasure, sir, hearing about your career from your mouth. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Bassam. Have a great day.
You too.
One love.
One of our sons of the soils, a cultural ambassador, playwright, and director, Chris DeRiggs. We thank him so much, and thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Let's now join the BBC. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and have yourselves a good one.